Hold on tight for the next hour. You're entering into a place, a zone called the alternative to the alternative media. It's a place, a special place where even truth seekers fear to tread.
All right, people, let's move like we've got a purpose.
Affirmative.
Okay, let's get the week going on the Investigative Journal. I'm your host, Greg Anthony. As always, glad you came back. And boy, we got a lot to talk about today. And I do one of these shows every now and then where I don't prepare anything, and I just let it go and start where I feel like starting and end where I feel like ending. And it's that old saying, sometimes when you plan something, it never works out the way you want it. And spontaneity is the lifeblood of life, or whatever they say. But anyway, that's what I want to do today. And I want to start out today with this football problem that we have. And, I played college football. And the last thing in my mind, and it wasn't a period of time right around the Vietnam War. And I never thought about taking a knee for the national anthem, even though I was against the war. And there was a lot of protest back there. Well, back then they weren't orchestrating things like they are today. This is an orchestrated plan because all of these football players, 250 of them on Sunday, who get paid ungodly amounts of money. And, the arrest rate of football players is higher than anybody's, any sport, any group of people. I mean, they're always getting arrested and involved in drug problems, and they make all this money. Then they have the audacity to sit there and get involved in this orchestration. They're dummies because they're being used by the Jesuits to incite hatred towards America. And then we have the middle class who watch the football games and pay for the football games. Many are up in arms at this. Just don't go to it. It's not that entertaining anymore anyway. I find football to be rather boring. I don't watch it anymore. Give me a good baseball game anytime. Then you have Trump coming out, with his America First thing. And he says once nobody goes into the stands, they'll change their tune quickly. But, it's an orchestrated effort, one side against the other. And it's now grown from Colin Kaepernick to 250 players. And then the guys that don't want to take a kneel, they put their arm, they lock arms with the ones kneeling as in, well, we believe in First Amendment rights. And, even Magic Johnson gets involved in it and says today, we got more important things to do. We got to worry about North Korea. We got to worry about this. The president shouldn't be doing that. And then, magic. Don't you know the magic that the Jesuits have to orchestrate these things? They're doing it every day. Why don't people ever get it? I think the ones that don't get it really don't want to learn anything. They're stalemated in their belief systems that were, given to them before they could even think as a child on their own. And now they're just big people that are children with children beliefs. They don't even question it. Oh, they have the right to freedom of speech. We're about as free in this country as, the Polish people were when they were put in those concentration camps. The only thing is we're led to believe we're free. And that all started with the Jesuits back at the time when they wanted to take this country over. What they thought was, while they're doing their thing in the Paraguay experiments before that, the Paraguay reductions to basically create communism, to hone it down so when they brought it to Russia, so that they could create the Cold War and this hatred between the West and Russia, right after Nazi Germany, right after their little orchestrated World War II with Catholic Hitler and all of his Catholics in the Gestapo and the whole works. It's just annoying that people don't take that one step farther to get out of this system, this belief system that America was created to be a free country. It wasn't. They were using the Constitution. They were using these founding fathers, many of who were in the pocket of the Jesuits, to allow the Vatican to get into America, because they weren't allowed to even hold office before this country was formed and the Constitution was formed, giving equal rights to all, equal rights, freedom of religion. But their idea of freedom of religion was this: to come in when you're at a minority and, sing the song of freedom, but then when you're the majority, to take away everybody else's freedoms. And that's exactly what they're doing today. And, you're getting hit from all sides like we talk about. So I just wanted to mention that about the football players, because it's really, to me, another sign of orchestration. There's a lot better things to be doing than to be worried about these high-priced athletes who are so, easily manipulated and being used for a cause they don't even understand. And they think they're standing up for freedom of speech because they don't like Trump. Well, if you don't like Trump, then you're not going to like half the football fans that come to your games, or even more, because they're stupid enough to like Trump. They don't realize he works with the New World Order as well. And people ask me, well, how does that work, Greg? And ad nauseum, I tell people how it works. It's really as simple. Most of our presidents come from the bloodline of Charlemagne. The statement that anybody can become president in the United States should be qualified by saying, if you come from royal bloodlines, and especially if you come from Charlemagne, then you can be president. Now, Clinton, Hillary, and Trump come from the same lineage. When are people going to wake up? Trump's mother was an aristocratic English woman coming from a bloodline there, and Hillary Clinton's father was. And if you trace them down, they're long-lost cousins. So, none of this ever, to me, made sense until I started really digging into it and saying, well, I've got to get rid of this belief system of mine, this idea that what I read in my college history books, and then what the Vatican taught me as a grade school child, a high school kid, was a bunch of lies. And that's a difficult path to follow, because you got to then denounce everything you've ever believed. Because what are we here for? To go to fast food joints? We're here to, don't you really want to know where you come from, what it's all about, the truth? No, I don't, Greg. I really think you're crazy. We don't care about the flat earth. Why do you talk about that? Greg, you try to tackle things that are out of your control. And you're one of the, I started thinking like you, and then I just shut my mind. I said, this is ridiculous. I can't accomplish anything. I'm going to handle the things I can handle. I'm going to cut my lawn. I'm going to take care of my things. I'm going to build an empire. And I'm going to forget about whether the earth is round or flat, whether the Jesuits or the Vatican took over our country, whether these wars are orchestrated. And I'm going to forget about it all. Well, why are you going to do that, sir? Does it really, are you really that lame-brained? Is it too much to be a thinking person? Yes, not a robot. Not one that says, oh boy, today I think I'll buy a new Ferrari, or I think boy, it would really make me happy to have 6 cars in that garage, And I think I'll work, these people, to me. Then you get these rich guys, like Richard Branson and all these people that, got billions of dollars. And, they decided to sell out. And they play the game along with the Jesuits, And who knows? Maybe they're blackmailed. That's how they operate. Maybe they got them blackmailed and they can't talk. But the whole thing gets rather tedious and annoying when you try to really say to a person, it's important to understand the big picture. And then, you get into the spiritual world. When I started delving into that, first I tackled the Vatican from a secular point of view. All of their scandals, their money, their control. They're wanting to take over governments. They want to blow up Parliament. They want to take over America. They put all these darn statues all over the place of Greek gods and Apollo and Isis worship. And, they're a little bit too much for me. I mean, the gig is up, guys. We know what you're trying to do. And you're probably going to succeed, but at least I know what you're up to. And I think that if more people knew what they were up to, we would have a little bit more time, and we might even slow this thing down for a long, long time. But this New World Order train, you ever see those old locomotives where they had to put coal in them to keep going? Well, think of the New World Order train as a whole bunch of my heads and people that they throw into their little compartment there to keep the engine rolling. You're being burned alive while you're living. We're going to throw another mind in there to keep this train moving. And the more minds that we can get into our fuel system here to keep this train going, the faster we're going to get to the end of the route. When we can finally say, like Rothschild, the old Rothschild guy said just a few weeks ago, the New World Order will be a reality in 2018, and you can count on that. Then we got people that all they do is watch these late night talk shows, or they turn on, constantly turning on these talk shows and the shows like The View on NBC. I mean, these are all propaganda pieces. I mean, and then you get now, everybody wants to be in politics. Jimmy Kimmel, the guy, the late night guy, he wants to be a senator. Well, we already got Al Franken from Saturday Night Live. Well, why? And then who else? Well, look at Ronald Reagan. He was a B actor. He never made it to the big time. He made president. Maybe I can do it. Why don't we just have one of your robots that you're building somewhere be a president? Just roll them out. First robotic president. So you know what? Then what's going to happen? He's going to bring in all his robot friends. And pretty soon there won't be a need for any people. And they'll have their computers and their robots and their digital world. And talking will be eliminated. We don't, kids there'll be a few little babies born. And they will be immediately taken, the doctor will be a robot. The nurse will be a robot, and they'll be roboticized, whatever that's going to be. And then there'll be one guy that sneaks away, right? One little baby that sneaks away, and he floats down a river in a little basket, and he starts a whole new movement to unite all the people that are left. And there aren't many at this stage in the New World Order. And this could be down the road a bit. But you got all these robots, and they kind of look like people. And there's really no way to tell now. Unless you go jabbing them with the little knife and see if they bleed. And what if you make a mistake? That guy ain't going to like you. But anyway, so this little baby escapes, and he starts getting together the 10,000 human beings that are left on the earth. And they form a place, they find a place where they can, create a new world, a new world order now. They want to change it again. But this time they want to get rid of the robots. And they want freedom. And guess what? In that 10,000 group, we have Jesuit infiltrators who will never allow this movement to get going. And so in the end, all these people will be put in a little FEMA camp where many millions have died since, and the remnants are still there. And we read about it, and these 10,000 people that survived read about what happened when there was at least 350 million Americans, 6 billion people on the planet. But how come there's only 10,000 of us? What happened? And where are these supposed elite that killed them all? Well, they're working with the robots. And you can't tell whether they are or not. How do you think Henry Kissinger stays alive? He's about 160. George Bush is George Sr. is jumping out of airplanes at 88. And they probably are getting those harvested organs or drinking baby blood or something, to keep them young. That's what they think. Or they're getting the harvested organs, through the black market for $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. That's chump change to them. But isn't it amazing that they, a lot of these old-timers, politicians who are in the New World Order live a long life, but some die off, or they get killed because they're going to, they have a conscience at the end. A lot of these old guys have a little conscience at the end of their life where they want to tell the truth, and then they got to figure, they got to keep an eye on them. So they'll just, give them cancer or something like that. And isn't it interesting now? I read the story about the hurricanes, okay? It was a first phenomena. Even though Maria didn't exactly wallop New York like we were talking about, she did do a number on Puerto Rico. Those poor people, man. Puerto Rico, and that's an American interest. So let's say Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, kiss them goodbye, because they're sitting. I was reading about it today. I don't know. Then they're not really moving with the speed of light to get there to help these people. In fact, you don't hear as much on the news about it. But you got people there that are clinging to life, and they may not have power for months. How many are going to be left after that? There's one of the reasons why those 10,000 people in the future who wanted to band together were reading about how could the world's population be so devastated. And then they read about all the natural disasters and all the weaponry that these people had to control the weather so they could kill people. And by the way, one of the most frightening stories was this lady in Houston was saying that FEMA's bringing in 3 or 4 huge barges. They look like those ships that haul cars, from Japan to America. You ever see those big, huge ships? Well, they bring in these barges in, and a couple of people got in there, and they looked at the living quarters, and it looked like a jail cell. 3 flights. It looked exactly like you were in San Quentin. And this lady was saying, "I'm not going in there." And this one guy says, "I ain't going in there either because you'll never get out of there. They ain't putting me in no jail." But they're bringing in barges there, and they're going to haul everybody from Port Arthur, because the town was devastated, and put them in there. That'll be the day. Well, anyway, the phenomenon now is that there were 8 major hurricanes formed in a row in the Atlantic Basin, which has never been heard of before. And I'm sure there'll be more stuff. Wait for the earthquakes are just moving up the road. Starting in southern Mexico, now they're moving up that pipeline. Next is Baja, next is San Diego. Then they'll move up. There'll be one in L.A. Then it'll move up to Santa Barbara, and all the way up to Cascadia. And then more people will be put on barges. And that eliminates a few more. Why the elite are whining and dining at Trump Towers somewhere. Both Democrats and Republicans, by the way. They make no bones about it. We're never going to get anything done. It's a joke. They got, what they want, folks? They want one-payer national health care, and so do the Republicans, and they're playing a game. So you Americans think you're going to ever get your health care back are crazy. Because you got a Congress, if it was real, you got a Congress, you got a Senate, and you got a president that's Republican, and they can't pass health care that'll help people. Instead of Obamacare, that's leading to a one-payer system, a communist system, where you're not going to be able to choose a doctor. And the health care gets terrible. Why do you think people from Canada rush to America? At least, you can find some doctors here. There, they got to go, they're told who to go to. And they don't like the care, many of the Canadians that I talk to. And I'll get calls from Canadians. What are you talking about? What are you talking about Canada for? Like that. We love our health care. Well, what it's leading to, that tells you if they can't get it done as Republicans, that the game is rigged. Because what they really want is a one-payer communist health care system. And the Republicans are just playing a game, because if they can't pass it with control of both houses, and with the House, the Senate, and the presidency, the executive branch, they can never get it done. And they're never going to get it. They're having another lame vote that's got to be in by the 30th now, and the 20,000th plan they've come up with that seems to get nixed all the time by a couple senators, right? Seems to get nixed. It's always McCain, you know. And what do you think their health care is like? They got the cream of the crop health care. They don't care, you know. Let's see if McCain, he's got brain cancer now. Put him in a single payer system in Canada. See how he'd like it. But no, he's getting everything paid for, the top-notch stuff. So, I mean, it's all a double standard. It's crazy. And when you look at what's happening outside of those, then you go to North Korea. And Trump, you know, this is the most ridiculous situation I've ever seen. America's being depicted as we got this president who acts like a schoolyard kid. I mean, look, a lot of people like Trump. They're being deceived by him. And I can see, you know, how he plays into this America First deal. But when he says stuff like, well, Rocket Man, he's not going to be around much longer. And then Kim Jong-un says, that's a declaration of war. That's what they said today. America has declared war on us, and we're going to fight back. Well, and then, of course, the presidential secretary gets on and states, that's absurd. We have not declared war. And, you know, it's just a game of, it's like watching kids in a schoolyard. And they want us to believe this is a serious war that one country really wants to demolish the other. They're just whipping up hatred and fear amongst the people in their own populations and the populations around the world. You don't think the people in Japan who don't get, you know, these wars are orchestrated, you know, are running for cover every time they hear an airplane fly over? And you know, what about, then you hear the story about, oh, Iran is working together with North Korea. And then what the hell are China and Russia doing? I mean, it's just one of those, it reminds me of, you know, some of the ways if you study how they orchestrated wars in the past, then you will see why they're doing this today. And I don't think it's going to be too far away before the bombs start flying. Because they're not in a rush, but, you know, they've been putting off things, and I don't know, you know, these elites, I know the Jesuit backroom talk I've heard is that they're taking a lot of the orchestrators, these puppet master Jesuits are taking these world leaders into a room and saying, get with it. You know, we give you everything, money, power, and you can't get any, you're not killing enough people. What the hell is wrong with you guys? I'm going to have to replace you. I can find another president. Don't worry about that. And you, Kim Jong-un, you think you're the only dictator I could find to play this role? You know, we got you there because you look like Humpty Dumpty. And the world thinks you're goofy. And you want to play the part or not? Well, get it moving. Start attacking an American plane. Let's get this war moving. Come on. And like I said, the rest of you, Putin, I don't know what you're doing. What are you out there riding your horse without a shirt on, showing off? Nothing's going on. You're not bombing Syria enough. I want more dead. Quicker. And that's what these Jesuits are doing now. They're a little upset with the people they picked. You know, it's like you ever been to a Broadway play and it gets, the greatest ratings and it goes on for several years, but then the actors start getting bored. They can't do it, so they got to change the cast. And the producer's upset because he's going to lose money maybe. Well, that's what these Jesuits do with these world leaders. Well, anyway, that's why you're seeing everything ramped up now. That's just my point of view. But anyway, we'll be back in 3 minutes on the Investigative Journal.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. you will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The following program is labeled dangerous and off limits by the supreme Jesuit command. But stand tall, people. Listen up, and you may just learn something.
Oh, dear Lord Jesus, this ain't happening, man. This can't be happening, man. This ain't happening.
Okay, we're back after that 3-minute break. It went by quick. Didn't even have time to go to the bathroom. So I'm going to start moving the show quickly. But anyway, you're listening to the Investigative Journal. Hey, by the way, why don't you get on board with some of the people? I want to thank a few people who have donated to the show. And I'm recommending that if you subscribe or you listen to the show, put in $15 to $25. If you want to put in more, hey, I won't say no. Go to my website at GregAnthony'sJournal.wordpress.com. You can get shows going back well over 10 to 12 years regarding the Vatican-led New World Order. I don't think there's a stone I haven't overturned. And I'm still, well, there's probably millions of them because they don't tell you everything. But there's always something new, isn't there? There's always some little trick they're doing that keeps you on your toes. And let me tell you what that was just a few days ago. And this story has been verified by the mainstream liars. But this occurred in Orange County, and maybe you've heard about it, but I thought it to be quite interesting. People were watching TV about 11 o'clock in the morning. An emergency alert came on. You know how you hear that? Well, it came on, but then a voice came on proclaiming that the end of the world is near and what's going to happen is going to be so disastrous. And it scared the hell out of people. And people were calling in. It was on Cox Cable and Spectrum Cable. Calling in, where did this come from? And Cox had some lame answer. But that was some Jesuit priest over there. Oh, yeah. Getting involved. They probably, they figured out a way they can now interrupt TV and just put on these, the end of the world is coming. But they have to tell you these things to get God's protection. I don't think you knew that, did you? Well, that's just one of my old little, I like to throw that out there to throw Christians for a loop. But yes, that old age-old question of where does this evil come from? And why does God allow it? I've tried to answer that for many years and got many different theories because it's an interesting question. When I was a kid, I asked a very simple question. If God is so good, why does he let all these evil people around? Does he really enjoy it? I mean, does he sitting up there going, wow, look at this. Okay. Oh, boy, better than watching The Simpsons. Okay, this is a real live, disaster. 100 people plowed down by an ISIS truck in a church or what have you. Or how about the Nazi death camps? Boy, that's good TV. So why does God allow evil? And it's an interesting question, folks. I'm going to let you, the listener, try to answer that. You can email me at gregbeacon@gmail.com, and I'll listen to what you think. And you've already listened to what I think. If you go back to my shows, if you just Google, you'll find out what is good and evil. And I talk a lot about the book of, I talk a lot about Cain and Abel, and everything comes from that. And then I talk a little bit about some of the people that feel the same way about it. Tupper Saucy wrote about it as well. And then I've met a few. In fact, I talked to a rabbi about it. And they, experts in the Old Testament, right? And he was intrigued. He even felt that way too. He says, that I was thinking, I gave a sermon once. Do rabbis give sermons? What do they call them? I mean, I'm Jewish. I've never practiced Judaism because I was brought up Catholic. And I think I was brought up Catholic. I don't know. If they knew I was Jewish, that's why I sat in the back seat all the room. They put me in the back all the time. They knew it. I bet you they knew I was Jewish, and they put me in the back. Yeah. They probably even fudged my grades. Little do they know, I was an A student, but they put me down as a C student. Oh yeah, I can blame everything on them. And that's not the way I like to do it, but it's a lot of fun, isn't it? And that's what I'm doing, poking a little fun, so don't take me seriously on that. Because, the Jesuits, man, they got their little claws into everything these days, and they delight on not knowing who they are. I've always said the best writers in the world they've written so many things like Shakespeare's plays, they've written Mozart's symphonies, they've written Mein Kampf, and God knows what else they've written. They don't want credit for it. I mean, these guys are really humble, aren't they? If it was me, and I wrote Mein Kampf, or if I wrote one of Shakespeare's plays, I'd want credit for it, and I'd want good money. And I want the whole world to know about it. But these guys, the humble little priests that they are, these God-fearing men, do all these things for the good of the world without taking any credit for it. You got to hand it to them. I tell you, praise the Lord, we have Jesuits like them. So why does God allow Jesuits around? If I was God, I'd wipe them right out. I'd stick my finger through that cloud, and I'd point it at the top Jesuit, and I'd knock them all down like little, ducks in a pond. Knock them down like dominoes, the dominoes that fall. And there'd be no more Jesuits in the world. No more evil people. Only good people. That's the kind of world I want to live in. Why did he create this crazy stuff? I mean, I didn't come down here to get blown away by some stupid politician playing war games. I didn't come down here to get, get hit by a nuclear weapon. I didn't come down here to get blown away by microwave weaponry or catch some bio disease they create, or get caught in a crossfire of some crazy lunatics who are drugged up on the drugs they're selling them so they could make money to orchestrate wars. No, I didn't come down here for this. I had no choice in it. When like you, when we were born, we were just put here against our will. If I'd have known all this stuff as a baby, I would have told my mother, don't ever let me out of there. I don't want to be on this earth like this. And it would be so simple for God to just go snap his finger and just get rid of it. He could do it, so why not? And there's so many different things. I'm poking some fun and some jokes. I don't really believe that he sits up there in his recliner. What kind of recliner would God have? Does he need one? I mean, I'd like a nice leather one. I love those. I used to sleep in a recliner sometimes instead of my bed. I used to like it. I don't know why. But now I don't have one. But what kind would he have if he needed one? He could have one if he wanted one. He could actually create a body for himself, I think. He could be 3 bodies, 5. Couldn't he? He could actually create a whole city of himself and talk and do everything if he wanted to. So how does he operate? That's the age-old question. Well, the Bible tells us. That's what everybody tells me. The Bible does tell us that. So I went to the Bible and I checked out why God allows evil. And I came up with a conclusion. And you can go back to my old shows to get it. But I want you to come up with a conclusion. Because that's all we talk about. Don't you wake up and you're dealing with evil. But if you're also loving God, why is he doing it? Did you ever really dig in deep and then say, hey, this is it. This is why. Well, God has a plan. Well, what is the plan? Well, you can't question. He's God. If he's God, then how are you going to know? You're not God. He's smarter than you. I know he's smarter than me. He created me, okay? So, how do you figure that? Why don't you create people that are smart, God, not these stupid Americans and these stupid people around the world that won't listen? And that's why half of us the few of us that figure it out are getting tortured. Why don't you create smart people? I did like that one girl you created, though. I mean, I was listening to her last night. I don't know if you heard about her. Her last name is Jordan. Forget her first name. She was. I listened to her first singing performance when she was 8 years old, and then the last one. I think she's somewhere around 12. I don't know how old she is now. I think she's in that age range, and she's a child phenomenon. I mean, I've never in my life heard a voice like this from an 8-year-old child, and she does jazz songs, and she's got kind of a deep voice. Sounds like a woman of 30 years old. I mean, and it's really sensitive. She's got the feelings, and she's doing songs that Billie Holiday would do, I mean, it's an incredible. Her last name's Jordan. Google it, child prodigy. But then I started thinking, all right, how come she's like that? And, if you take some of the Eastern philosophies and think about it, maybe she was here before. Why not? Equal time to all religions. Maybe she was here before. And then you get to a Buddhist and he goes, no, wait a minute. You don't know what you're talking about. All right, what am I talking about? you could come back as a butterfly. Oh, please, they don't live long. And I always say to a Buddhist, I like fantasizing like that too. I mean, who fantasize? We fantasize about everything. You can fantasize about Christianity. I do it because the story is you go to heaven. Well, what's heaven like? Oh, I have so many different fantasies about what heaven is like. It's like gold. I can have a gold-plated airplane like Donald Trump. Right. Just out of the clear blue sky, I could create it. That's what heaven is. Or are you just flying on a cloud? Or have you got the world on a string sitting on a rainbow? I can fantasize. We fantasize about all religions. So if I fantasize with the Buddhist, I go, well, how come it would be great if we came back as something else? Because you're not ready to go cross over. And I always go, well, I ask them, what's over? If you cross over and you don't come back, what's there? That's a good one to ask a Buddhist. And I like Buddhists. They're really nice people. I mean, they're nicer than most Christians. I mean, I'll be honest with you. They have a they're not arguing all the time, put it that way, about what chapter 6, verse 7 of Ephesians says. They take it in stride and lead you on a path so you could figure it out yourself. But anyway, so what lies over that crossroads? If you cross over and you don't come back as a butterfly, then what's there? Well, that's an open-ended question. But, I always ask this. I said, well, it would be nice if I came back, let's say, as Donald Duck. It would be nice to remember that I was Greg Anthony in everything that I did. Because then I could say, hey, I'm still here. I'm just in a different form now. I'm Donald Duck. But I remember Greg. And before I was Greg, I was something else. And I remember all of those. Wouldn't that be fantastic? And then you got these people out there that say they can do that. Now, I don't really believe that. I mean, you can get me so far. Well, catch me on a day when I'm gullible and I'll probably believe it. And don't you think we have those days? The smartest of people. To me also, the smartest of people. I was talking to a criminal once, and he used to do scams all the time. He's more like one of these guys that would he could sell you oceanfront property in Arizona, and he'd say, sometimes the best people to scam are the smartest ones, because they think they know everything. And boy, it's a great yeah, true. And usually smart ones have a lot of money, so that's why you went after them, I guess. But it takes all kinds. So why does God allow criminals? I mean, if it was a perfect God, he shouldn't do that. I mean, why would he allow some people to walk into a 7-Eleven and shoot somebody for no reason, just for $20? Seems like a waste. And all those questions swirl around, and I'd like you to figure out for me why you think God allows evil and all these bad things to happen. And please don't give me this. Only thing I will not read is he has a plan for us and we can't figure it out. I don't want to hear that. We got to try to figure it out, even though we may fall short. And I want to see how many different opinions there are. Now, if this goes as bad as my contest on iPet Go 2, I am just going to quit this show because it's ridiculous. I do a contest which I thought was going to be great, and I got 2 people. And you know why? Because nobody wanted to donate $25. You give the government thousands. You get scammed and give people millions. But you can't, support the truth. Hey, I understand. It's a tough world. But anyway, let's see how many people respond to this. Should I run a contest and charge money for it? No, this time I won't. You know why? Because I am disappointed. Yes. Disappointed. Thought I had a good thing going. Thought I could figure out a good way to keep the show going. And what do I get? 2 people. And hey, listen, the 2 people that did that, thank you. But it used to be this, when my show would go through problems, and I was ready to quit, because I said, I got no money on this, I've been doing it long enough. Somebody donates a little bit of money, and I feel obligated to do the show. it's not enough to live on. It's not even, but I know from their point of view, it's thank you so much, and I appreciate it. But see, it's a game of numbers too, and you got to get a number of people to do the same little thing, so that what you're listening to, if you like it so much. And I get emails like this: Greg, even though you think nobody listens, and you're not, we listen to you every day, and thanks for the memories. Who said that? Whose tagline was "Thanks for the memories"? See how many youngsters out there remember. Who said "Thanks for the memories"? La da 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 da, la da 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 da, la da 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 da. So thanks for the memories. Well, I'm not going to tell you. Email me too on that one, gregbeacon@gmail.com. And the first 10 callers get a free juicer. Remember those? No, the first 11 callers. And you got to do it today, because we're selling out. Boy, anybody who does commercials like that ought to be shot. That think that people still believe that's garbage. Only 10 calls. This guy does this. He sells garage doors for Mesa Garage Door or something. And he goes something like, "Oh, this is wintertime, the worst time to sell garage doors. We're going to sell them for, who can buy a garage door for $4.95? I'm going to pay for everything, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to do it for only the first 25 callers." Now, anybody that does a commercial like that needs to be shot, because they must still think people believe that. If 10 million callers called, they'd take it. You mean they're going to only say, "Oh, no, I said 10. You're the 11th caller. Now you got to pay me $1,000. The guy will hang up on it. He'll lose bit. He's going to take any call he wants. Ridiculous. Why does God allow people like that? I mean, why does he allow? So we're dealing with that age-old question of evil, but I believe, I'll give you a little hint. It all started way back with Cain and Abel. And it's worked its way all the way today. And that's if you believe in Christianity. Now maybe Buddhists have a different idea, so don't. I'm not just asking Christians. Atheists, what do you think? An atheist will say, "Well, the question you answered, Greg, really can't be answered because there is no God. And so if there is no God, evil runs rampant. And that's proof there is no God." All right, we'll take that. An atheist has a right to speak. What about Hindus? What do they think? What about Jehovah's Witnesses? I don't know what they think. I think only Jehovah's Witnesses, all they can do is stand by those stands with their little books. And they don't even give you a good sale. I've walked by them many times. The Mormons, I give them credit. They'll chase you down when they have the little kids with their white shirts and ties. They'll chase you down. "Hey, get over here. You got to know about the Book of Mormon, man. You ain't going to live. Come on. Tell us about it. We're here. We're here to save you. I'm on a mission. I'm on my mission." I give them credit. Got some gumption. But these Jehovah's Witnesses, they stand by that stand. They sit there. I walk by, and they don't say a word. I'm going, am I not worthy to be a Jehovah's Witness? Do I look like I wouldn't be a good Jehovah's Witness? Are you prejudiced? Something wrong with me? Get up out of that chair and sell me your pitch. Sell me why I should be a Jehovah's Witness. That's what I want. A little bit of conversation. Who else gets out there and does these things? I don't know. Amway, or I don't know. Remember, it's what happened to door-to-door salesmen? God got rid of door-to-door salesmen. He didn't like them. That's one thing he did. You don't see them anymore, and thank God. When I grew up as a kid, poor guys would become, like, the movie, the theater play I'm talking about. "Please buy my vacuum cleaner. If I can't sell this vacuum cleaner, my wife's going to divorce me. I've been walking every street. I knock on every door. And I've been carrying the same vacuum cleaner for 5 years. Please buy it." "Okay, buddy, how much you want?" "Well, let me tell you what it's got." "Okay, get out of here." If he'd have just said, listen, just give me $10, I'd have done it. Nobody's gonna. I don't want to listen to him go through his spiel and then try to jack the price up on me after the guy's had the damn thing for 5 years. And then I'd probably say, you know what your problem is? You're not a good salesman. You've probably been hanging around with those Jehovah's Witnesses. I want you to go to those Mormons. You go to that Mormon church and learn how they do it, and then you're going to get out. You'll sell a vacuum cleaner every hour. Yeah. And I'll tell you, make them interesting. Do a song and dance. Do something. But that's really what's going on. We got so much nonsense. Then when we're posed with a difficult question, we don't want to answer it. Oh, that's God's plan. That's good enough. Well, it's not good enough. At least it's not good enough on this show. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are going to respond to this and are going to lift my spirits, because if I fail on 2 little things I've done like this, it's going to make me cry, But anyway, we're just about all out of time. And I told you when I started today, I didn't have anything planned. So every now and then I like to do a show where I just talk right off the top of my head. And then I don't listen to it, because I'll listen to it and I go, God, why did you say that? You sound so stupid. Why? What's wrong with you? You're a serious journalist. If somebody listens to that, they're going to think you're going off your rocker. But no, I'm not, folks. Sometimes, and I think we did, discuss a few things that are important. And that question about good and evil is a good one. And so if you want to email me, please do. Please do. Don't make me cry and say, I failed on 2 contests. Well, this really isn't a contest, but it's kind of like a contest. And of course, now I'm going to get thousands of people because I'm not asking for $25. All right, listen. If you feel like it, send in 15. Right. And then give me your explanation about good and evil, and I'll read it on the air. Yes, I will. And if you want your name, or if you want to give me how do I know it's your name anyway? Give me any name. Names don't mean anything anymore. You can say, guys email me with girls' names, girls with guys' names, and who the hell knows? But anyway, if you want your real name, sure, I'll say it. If you don't want a name, give me a code name or something. And then we'll see how many interesting ones there are. And hey, if you feel like sending in $15, go right ahead. I say I'm lowering the price. Pretty soon I'll be down to a dime. Pretty soon I'll go, just buy me a cup of coffee. That's all I want. Hell, I don't need shoes. But anyway, my puppies, I sacrificed 1 pair. When you have a puppy, that's what you do. You got to sacrifice one of your worst pair of shoes, because they're going to get all of them if you don't. So anyway, we'll see you tomorrow on the Investigative Journal. Thanks for listening.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.